Hello and welcome to author Michael W. Ford's YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, you might be a little surprised because, well, he's not here. Not yet anyway. In fact, he doesn't know I'm doing this video yet. I thought today that we could maybe do something a little different and I could share something about Michael that you may not know, or maybe you do. So if you're on this channel, you know what Michael does and what he writes about, but did you know that he is also a huge horror fan? Big fan of horror movies and film, and he's watched quite a few. So have I. Over our lifetime, we're watching horror films at least 4 nights a week. Some of them are ones that we've seen before, and some of them are newer. We've watched old films, we've watched new films, we've watched foreign films. By the way, if you don't watch foreign films, specifically in the horror genre, you're really missing out because there are some phenomenal horror films that are made in other countries. One such film is the original Nosferatu. It's been in black and white and color and silent. And there's a lot of different versions of this movie. And it's one of Michael's absolute favorites. We collect a lot of memorabilia and such for horror films. And just to give you an idea, I pulled a few things from our collection. We have so many things that are dedicated to different horror films that we have a lot of it still boxed up. But these are some of the items that I wanted to share with you. Okay, so these are just some of the vampyre collection. And starting with Vlad the Impaler, I'm just going to show you a little bit about it. And we'll let Michael come up and talk a little bit more. The original black and white. We have the Bela Lugosi. Oops, let me see if I can get in there. And he is a little off-centered. So he must have been out at some point. You can kind of get an idea. And then the Hammer film with Christopher Lee is there. And then just some other little things. We have another edition of the Nosferatu and the Christopher Lee and his little coffin, which I think, honestly, these coffins we got for them. He has the Nosferatu and his bride. And this one here is a Dracula. Here we have another Orlok from Nosferatu. And then this is something I got him for his birthday a couple years ago, which is Count Dracula. It was from 1985. He comes with like a death certificate. Now we do also collect memorabilia from all different horror films in general. And I pulled just a couple of those to give you an example. And maybe one day we'll do a whole thing of the ones we have, but let me tell you, it's quite a bit. So here are a couple things that are from our collection here. So we have The Exorcist, which was a great movie that we both still very much love. The Nun, which is one of his more recent favorite characters from a film. And of course, one of my favorites, and of course Michael's favorite, which is Pinhead. So back to the purpose of what this video is really about. We have a tradition, Michael and I, that every year we go on Christmas Day, after we've done the family thing, we go and we watch a movie at the movie theater. And they almost always have a horror film playing. This year, the new Nosferatu is coming out, and there's a lot of hype about it. It is directed by Robert Eggers, and he's the one who directed the movie The Witch. So he's been bugging me about this movie coming out. It comes out on Christmas Day, so it's perfect for our movie. However, I had kind of told him after the COVID thing and we had gone back to one of the theaters and I was a little unhappy with it. Just felt like they weren't really taking care of the theaters anymore. And I was unsure whether or not I wanted to go to a theater. I'm just much more comfortable at home, watching things at home. However, there's nothing like the experience of going to the movies. So I'm saying this is because I've kind of led him to believe that we may not do this, but of course, I'm going to do this for him. In addition to that, he started bringing up this new cologne that's come out that's been approved by the movie. They got the rights to make this specific cologne. And it is by a company called Heretic Parfume. The description, it's cold, pale, and pellucid, invoking an encounter with an apparition. That's the original, and they have a couple different descriptions, but that's the original description that Michael read to me. So he was like, I really need to have that. And I was like, maybe Christmas. And so anyway, I ordered it back in, I think it was early November. And I will tell you, if you do order this, it is taking a little while to come in. And they did send a notification to me saying that due to the amount of orders they've received, it is taking a little bit longer for them to send. However, it did finally arrive. I opened the package because I wasn't sure what was in there. We get packages all the time. And so I opened to see what was in this package, and it was his perfume or cologne, sorry. And so this is the surprise for him. It's an early Christmas present. And also I bought tickets, those tickets for the movie theaters. I'm going to show him that on my phone, but I wanted you guys to see this cologne and also hear from Michael exactly his thoughts on horror films and how they relate to the occult.
What's all this?
I will explain it in a minute.
I know what this is, but why is it all?
Well, sit down. It's a surprise. So I have an early Christmas present for you. Okay. It's something that you asked for. I have opened the package. I apologize, but I wasn't sure what was in it, but I put it all back in.
All right. What could this be? Heretic Parfume. Oh, wow. Is this what I think it is?
I think it is.
Infernal. Hell yes. Nosferatu.
Very cool. Like a newspaper,
Apparently,
right?
Yeah, apparently they have a full... I mean, the last time I've seen a newspaper has been years.
I see that's the perfume ad, right? But
Yeah.
is that what it's for?
Okay. Oh, wow. This is cool. Looks like it goes into the foundation of the film.
Yeah. So is it all about the film then?
Yes, it definitely is.
Well, that's
Some
kind of
still.
cool. A little
Yeah.
keepsake. So that wasn't like I didn't order that. That's just part of, I guess, the package.
Yeah, this is great. Well, I've been excited about this because of the, well, obviously Nosferatu.
Just so you know, I'm filming this because I thought that maybe we could put it on your YouTube or channel and talk a little bit about the package and some other things too. But
Yeah, absolutely.
so what was in there at first?
A sample of a perfume or cologne called Dirty Hinoki, which sounds like something that you could get if you're not careful.
It sounds a little
especially
dirty.
after drinking at Goth Club.
Okay.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
Look at this package.
Nice.
Their boxing is like top notch. Look at this.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And I didn't know what to expect when I saw this. I got excited about this because being a Nosferatu and horror nerd, I saw that they made a scent for Nosferatu, which I want to smell like a cold corpse.
You do. No, I'm just
Thank you.
kidding.
Thank you.
Oh, I think that's just the
Okay.
receipt. But kind of cool. Look, they got a nice little pocket in there for your receipt.
Yeah.
Cool. I know.
Very nice. A seal. Yeah.
Oh, let me see the seal.
It's just got the...
It's not on there, huh?
It's the name
not
of-
really.
No, which is good because then it doesn't tear.
I didn't open that part. I didn't open the box. So
Okay. Yeah.
nice.
This is for fancy things. Perfume. Cologne.
I keep saying perfume.
I don't wear perfume. I only wear cologne. Okay. So it's got a
Man, the packaging really is phenomenal.
really nice card. The Nosferatu sigil. Looks like it has Cyrillic in it. The type used in Romania and Eastern Europe. Could be wrong there, but Count Orlok's sigil. I'm glad they utilize that. That's not in the originals to any extent. And it talks about
In the original, what?
Nosferatu. There are sigils on a letter from and it was put together when they did the film, the original black and white, from a guy who was a member of the Fraternus Saturni, which is an occult group that I'm well versed in researching. But anyway, even the 1979, which was my favorite one, didn't have that. So I'm really excited that the director incorporated all this.
That's cool. So what is this? Another booklet?
Yeah, this really talks about I guess from Heretic's kind of focus in making this. And they wanted to, and this is from the booklet, wanted to move beyond tropes like blood, roses, smoke, or candle wax. And that's good. I'm glad. And explore a very different idea of this creature of the night. Instead, the fragrance reveals itself to the wearer with a clap of thunder and a downpour of rain outside Count Orlok's castle.
Very cool.
So this booklet is very, very extensive and deep. I really like how they explain really the ingredients of the cologne into detail on how it's associated with vampirism and how this film. Something I really like about this is how this is pretty expansive into the film. Now, I haven't seen the film yet, but I like the director's Roger Eggers' his other films. And
oh, I said Robert Eggers. I'm sorry. It's Roger Eggers. Okay.
yeah. So here is the actual cologne. And before I show what's on it,
Can I smell it?
yeah,
Smell it.
yeah. So the top has the sigil of Nosferatu in the film, which I find really, really cool. And keep in mind, when it comes to horror and things that I like that are not occult related necessarily, I'm not just to jump on anything that comes out, but I do appreciate all kinds of things that I don't even really talk about. So this is fantastic. So I am actually wrong, which is rare. It's unfortunate that we have to capture it this way. It's not Roger, it's Robert.
Oh, I'm
So
right.
you're right. I was wrong, and that's bad on me, but I'll remember that in the future.
I have one more surprise for you.
I just want to say, usually when I get called into a room, I'm either in a lot of trouble or I have to fix something. So when I came in and saw these collectibles, it was a pleasant surprise. Oh, wow. So we are going to go see it on Christmas.
Opening day.
Yeah.
This is a new theater that we've not been to. It's a luxury theater, I guess, called Sinopolis.
Mm-hmm.
And so
You mean we're not going to a so-called dollar theater with sticky seats? But I'll survive.
we've been to those too before.
I know. Wow, this is really great. Thank you. Thank you so much, hon.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And, like I said, it's I knew you were very excited about this, and I was very excited for you. So I wanted to give it to you early. Guessed what I thought was your favorite Nosferatu film. And I want to see if I'm right. So which of the Nosferatus from the silent to now is your very favorite?
Well, I haven't seen the new one, so obviously that's not going to count in, no pun intended, count. Yeah, that's fun. But actually, the 1979 Werner Herzog.
Got it right.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, so I'll tell you a funny story how I first saw that. So when I was a kid, I bought for in the dollar bin VHS tape of the original silent Nosferatu. And I was under 10, so I had no interest in this silent movie. Now that I see it, I love it. But I thought, okay, it's got some cool stuff, but I didn't have the patience to sit through the VHS tape. So in 1994, when my black metal band, Black Funeral, was becoming well established in the underground, I had a lot of correspondence with different other black metal artists, and many of those from Norway, Sweden, etc. But one from the band Emperor, Samoth or Thomas, we had a really good rapport, and we were corresponding about horror films that we like. And he was telling me, if you have a chance, if you haven't seen it, see the 1979 Nosferatu. Now,
how old were you?
Oh, I was about 16. Yeah, 16, 17 in there. And back then there was no internet. Most video stores around me had just basic stuff. So the 1979 Nosferatu was not over in the States like it became in the 2000s. But I had a source, and it was this catalog of a guy in another state, I think Michigan, who sold nothing but bootleg movies, old movies. And so you'd pay, and they were like $40, $50.
Are they better quality than like the bootleg movies you get in a parking lot?
Back years ago, yeah, they weren't filmed in a movie theater, but these were like, yeah, they were foreign prints usually. So I found Nosferatu, and I found a movie Lamora, which I'm not going to go into, but that's another favorite. But I found the 1979 Nosferatu, and I was aware of Klaus Kinski. I'd seen some stuff he was in, and I didn't really know anything about Herzog, but I
forgot. He was the director, Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I ordered it, and it came, the VHS tape, which I still have in a box. And it was a very it looked like someone put a Gaussian blur on the film because it had been transferred so many times. It was actually an English dub of the movie. The thing that I fell in love with, not only the soundtrack by Popol Vuh, and they used different composers, old composers, but the atmosphere of the film was amazing. this had such an atmosphere to it with the long shots, and it was very magical for me.
And it's colored. So is it the first color version of?
Yeah, it was the only remake after the one that was, with Shrek back in the 20s. And Herzog did this, what I read later, was because it was the most important German film he thought ever made up until then. So he did an amazing job remaking this thing, and Klaus Kinski did a fantastic job. But just all of the whole movie is amazing, and I love the atmosphere of it. Considering that I research vampirism, mythology, magical aspects, all of these things in cultures, I love it when they're close to authentic to the place that they're evoking the story from.
And Warner is German.
Yes.
Right. So he had a closeness to the film. Before we go on, I wanted to ask you something because you mentioned this, and I know you and I've never talked a lot about this, but would you talk about sources for VHS tapes? And I've heard you say even tapes, right? You were in some sort of like thing where you would like trade tapes?
Yeah, this is a part of the underground. We would dub songs and demos and trade them with each other all over the world. And then people
how did you find these? How do you find, or back then, how would you find sources like that?
Well, looking back, I would never want to go back and try to do that again because that was so difficult compared to how easy it is now.
We didn't have internet in the way that we do today.
Yeah.
Search engines, things like that.
Early on, I found a metal magazine in a music store, and it had some addresses of different, what was called zines. Zines are photocopied magazines, fanzines, really. They interview bands and put it in there. And I started getting different zines. And as I started doing my music, you would make cassettes and create your own demo cover and all this stuff. And you would mail them out to these magazines. They would do a review on it or an interview. And then people would write you. At one point in the 90s, I was getting something like 20 to 25 letters or packages a day.
Wow.
For
Black Funeral?
For Black Funeral and just people that I corresponded with.
What about the tapes? How were you getting like VHS tapes? Where did you find the source for that?
Well, so a funny thing, you would find people that were into metal, but they were also into horror movies. Oh. And I remember this son of a doctor, and he was my age in, I think, Georgia. And this guy had so many obscure things. But then I found in some magazine an address for this bootleg underground film.
Did you guys ever do that for each other? Did you like copy, like if you had certain films and you were writing with somebody who had other certain films, would you guys like, instead of trading your own tapes, but like transfer it and copy and send it? So
trade? Would spend a lot of money on blank tapes, which took, so I didn't have enough money back then. I was really poor and just like a starving musician, but just different musicians, they would say, hey, check this out. And I would say, hey, have you heard this? Check this out. Or we'd send looking for lists or wanted lists of different things.
I mean, we're talking snail mail. We're talking,
2 weeks, 4 weeks to get a reply sometimes. And if it's in Europe, which a lot of my connections were, that takes even longer.
So even talking, like when you're talking to Emperor, right? Mm-hmm. And some of these other bands, it was all writing. I've seen the letters and stuff.
Yeah, I still have all of them.
Which is really cool because you think about this. Yeah, you can have a text message from somebody, but handwritten letters from some of the legends, really.
Yeah. All of the legendary Norwegian. So there was Samoth. I corresponded with his wife who had a band, Andrea Meyer, passed away. She had this thing called Horde of Hagalaz, which was a runic Germanic Norse magic kind of writing thing. There was Thomas from Emperor. There was Bauer Faust from Emperor, the drummer, who was actually, I would correspond with some of these guys. They were in like Norwegian prison for their black metal crimes. Yeah, but they could correspond. It was something I really like about this is he didn't look like a corpse really. But the thing I like about Nosferatu so much is that was more akin to Germanic and Slavic vampirism as they're related as walking corpses, and formerly witches or sorcerers who had died and are basically extended or immortal, for lack of a better term.
And how did Vlad Tepes get kind of put into there as the original Dracula.
Well, Bram Stoker did some research when he was writing his vampire story that would become Dracula, and he found the legend of Vlad the Impaler. Also Elizabeth Báthory, who also inspired that story. But the story of Vlad the Impaler is far more interesting than the Dracula films, in that history and his story about the things he went through and the things he did. And he fought against the Ottoman Turks, but he was also, a few years before he fought them, he was a general for Mehmed III. And
that's because they held him, right, as kind of a
royal
prisoner exchange.
Yeah, he was educated among them and esteemed.
His father allowed them to be raised by them as part of a political prisoner program.
To keep him in line. And after his father was killed,
him and his brother, right?
Yes. And Vlad had more of the strong, forceful personality, and he became the Prince of Wallachia. And Dracula's son of the dragon, his father was called Dracula. He was a member of the Order of the Dragon.
Wow.
So yeah, and that's why I have the traits of Vlad were very impressive to me.
So what is your favorite of these collectibles here? What are your favorite?
Well, I've got several total, but Vlad the Impaler, this Nosferatu I like a lot, and the Hammer Dracula, of course, because I am a great Christopher Lee fan. So yeah, those would be
the ones back here.
Yeah. Wow, thank you so much. I'm really, really, I can't wait to see this.
Of course,
this movie.
And I'm excited to go with you too.
Yes. Yeah.
Let us know if you like this type of content. We can do other things. We talked about this before when we went and did the abandoned cemetery with some of our friends. We have other videos of other things, escapades and adventures we've done with other people, but we've just never put it together for video. But if you like this type of content, it's something we can add to the channel.
Yes, definitely. Let me know in the comments. And I do read those. I don't always answer as quickly. I have a lot of things usually going on, and I don't like to be glued to the internet at all times. I know that's strange, but I will definitely read those, and we can work something in with that.
And make sure if you like the content, subscribe so that you'll get notifications when Michael puts out new videos. And hopefully you like this video and you'll give us a thumbs up.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And thanks for the ambush, which was very pleasant.
Of course.